It's great to welcome Desiree Dorion on this program once again. She's a talented country musician from Dauphin, Manitoba, and she recently released her new EP titled Remember Your Name. Desiree, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. So,
Good.
how has your fall season been?
It's been busy,
Yeah.
very busy, but
hmm
good. Yeah.
Okay. So, how has the new EP been received thus far?
I think it's been good. Yeah, I mean, I was a bit nervous. I didn't know because it's definitely sitting more in the folk roots Americana world than it is the country world, and so it's a departure from what I've done previously. And I didn't know if my audience would follow along, but it seems like they are, and I've gotten a ton of messages and um, comments just from people, emails, even people emailing me about it, just saying that they think that it's the best work I've done, and they're really digging the new direction. So it's
Okay.
all been positive so far.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. And yeah, I enjoyed listening to the EP as well. It has 6 songs in it. And I wonder if, given this new direction that you're taking, are you planning to record an album based on the new sound that your EP offers?
I mean, maybe eventually. I want to kind of sit in this one for a little bit before I think that far ahead.
Mhm.
I might do a few singles. I might, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So let's talk about one of the singles behind the EP titled Ghosts. So tell me
Mhm.
more about how the song came to be.
Ghost is a track that I wrote with Jesse Slack in Nashville, and I had the melody, and that's all I really took to him. And it ended up evolving into kind of a vengeful, um, empowering breakup song, I would say.
That's incredible. Okay. And tell me about how you came up with the title of the EP, Remember Your Name.
That song came about after I had found myself sobbing on the bathroom floor at my home. And I might have been there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I have no idea how long I was there. But when I got up, I looked myself in the mirror and I literally touched my hands. I remember touching my arms and my face just to make sure that I was still there. And I looked myself in the mirror and I said, Desiree Dorian, you're never going to find yourself crying on that bathroom floor again. That's the last time we do that. And that's the last time we go there. And I said to myself, remember the strength of your grandmother, remember the strength of your mother. And neither of them would find themselves in this position. And I took that idea um, to a couple of folks in Nashville, Crystal Granger and Douglas Romano, and talked to them a bit about that experience. And this song was the result of that.
And of course, it provides the title for the EP as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. If I may ask, do you remember the circumstances that led you to that bathroom floor?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, but I
Okay.
do,
Okay.
and I just want the music to speak for itself.
I see. So, yeah, I understand it must have been a painful experience.
Yeah, yeah.
I suppose, how I can ask, how other than music, what are some of the ways in which you recover from such experiences?
Exercise, I think, is so important for me to move my body to, just increase all the feel good chemicals in my brain, to eat well, to take care of myself. Yeah,
No,
yeah. For me, those three things: writing, exercise, and eating well are the best, in my opinion, the best forms of natural therapy.
yeah, yeah, I say so myself as well. Right. So how are you prepared for the winter in Manitoba? I understand that it can be very cold.
Yeah, it's freezing. I mean, there really is no preparing for it. It's just, Make sure that your furnace is working and turn it up when you need to because it's going to be minus 40 here before we know it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a friend of a friend who married a Canadian. He worked in the Royal Canadian Army, and they moved to Winnipeg. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
after a winter, they couldn't stand it, and they moved back to Vietnam, both of them.
Yeah. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Yeah, no, it gets really, really cold and it's really windy. And yeah, I mean, people are layered up in their warmest winter clothes, warmest winter jackets, winter boots, Duke Smiths. Um, yeah, it's something. It's something, and it's always cool when you talk to people who are not from this area originally because they everyone has their own idea of cold, but cold is really subjective. And it's funny when you get people in Manitoba that haven't you know grown up here or aren't habitually from here, and um, yeah, it's shocking.
Oh yeah. So, would you are you planning to use the time this winter to fulfill your, I guess, creative ambitions?
Well, I'm plan. There's a lot of behind the scenes admin stuff that goes on, um, and for me, I mean, my quiet times are typically October is typically quiet. November, there's usually a couple of things that come up, and then Christmas is always busy with Christmas shows and bookings and stuff. January is typically pretty quiet for me. So once the Christmas season slows down, then January is kind of a really cold month because there isn't a whole lot going on. But it starts to pick up again in February, March. And so what I will typically do in January is just enjoy that downtime because there isn't a whole lot of it for me in the year. And I love snowshoeing and despite the freezing cold in January, I love being outside. I love fishing, ice fishing, and doing all of that kind of stuff. And so I typically tend to gravitate towards things that ground me and things that bring me back down to earth a little bit. And I try and do things that I enjoy that I don't really get a chance to do as much throughout the year.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I understand that much of the songs from Remember Your Name comes from a rather painful place. So I'm just hoping to check in. So, are you in a good place right now?
I'm in a really good place right now. Yeah, thank you for asking. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the beautiful things about art is that, and for me, like I said, writing has always been a really um, great source of therapy that I've been able to lean on throughout my entire life. And this time was certainly no exception. And um, yeah, I do want the music to speak for itself, but I think and if anyone's listening to the music, it's pretty evident that something happened, and I feel like I'm on the other side of it, so it's really good.
What are some of the things that you hope people would take away from listening to this new EP of yours?
One of the things that I've come to know over my lifetime of experience is that pain, no matter what kind of pain we go through, is all the same. And there's no, your pain is worse than my pain, is worse than his pain, is worse than her pain. Pain is pain is pain is pain. And no matter where we're sitting when it comes to pain or trauma or, um, you know, what end of the spectrum we're sitting on in relation to that pain. One of the takeaways I think that I want people to walk away with the most is that you're going to be okay. No matter what it is, no matter how big it feels, no matter how daunting it feels, how scary it feels, you're going to be okay. And um, find things that bring you joy. Find things that bring you even the smallest amount of joy, and do those things every day. If it's reading a book, if it's going for a walk, if it's playing with your dog, if it's whatever it might be, find the smallest things that bring you joy, looking up at the sky, realizing that, you know, we're literally a speck of dust in the universe, and time is going to march on with or without us. And um, whatever our problems are, they're not insurmountable, and we are so small in the greater network of life. And so there's nothing that can't be overcome. There's nothing that's insurmountable. And at the end of the day, so long as you're standing on the right side of the ground, time is going to carry on. And as time carries on, that pain will lessen and you will be okay. That is really the message that I want people to take away from this album.
No, that's beautiful. Now, here's a question that I've been wrestling with for some time, and I'm sure you have too. It's pain a necessary requirement for creative endeavors?
That's a really good question. I mean, I don't think so. I think that, there are so many fun tracks that, I think emotion is a necessary requirement. But like you think of songs like "Don't Worry, Be Happy." You think of songs like um, uh, Pharrell Williams, "I'm Happy." I mean, I think that there are so many positive, uplifting songs that didn't necessarily maybe come from a place of pain, but I think you know can also come from places of pure joy. You think of love songs, things that um, lyrics and beautiful melodies that are born out of love. Um, I think that it's just whoever is writing those or composing those tracks needs to be able to really just dig into whatever that feeling is and articulate it in a way that's going to resonate with a wider audience.
Mhm. Yeah. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about the cover of the EP, which is a rather bold cover. It reminds me a lot of the Avril Lavigne album that she released in 2019, I think Head Above Water. Yeah, so yeah, tell me about the story behind it.
Yeah, I knew. Okay, so I've been a country music artist throughout my entire career, and I knew that I wasn't going to stay in that genre. I knew that I'd need to venture out into folk roots Americana world if I was going to have any longevity as an artist, purely because I'm getting older, and country music doesn't really favor, middle-aged women.
Hmm.
And so that was the first consideration. It's something that I've been thinking about for a number of years now. And then when I got to thinking about, what I wanted this new record to sound like, I knew that I wanted it to be really raw and really vulnerable because that's where I was coming from personally at the time. I knew that I wanted it to be very stripped down in terms of the production, in terms of the sound. Um, and then when I got to thinking about the branding and the um, imagery that would coincide with that new direction, I was thinking, what am I going to, I always think about what am I going to wear? How am I going to have my makeup? How am I going to be positioned? Is this going to be a studio shot? Is it going to be outdoors? Is it, all of those things are things that I think about. And when I was thinking about the sound that I wanted to capture and the messages that I wanted to convey and the stories that I wanted to tell, I thought, what better way to do that than to just be completely nude? Um, and I said that the feedback had been overall really positive. I did get some feedback online. One person called me a glorified prostitute. Uh, there was some negative feedback on that too, but I expected that. I expected that this would be something that would be controversial for some people. Um, just because there's a lot of pressure, I think, on women particularly, and then particularly middle-aged women. We're supposed to be more conservative than um, even though I felt like the record, like that album cover was shot in a way that was very classy, in a way that was sophisticated, and artistic. That I wanted that to be captured in that shot, but I also expected there to be some pushback, and there was, but that's okay.
Yeah, and I guess for what it's worth, I believe you look beautiful in that cover.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt really beautiful, and I felt like I worked with that. Chantel Dion Photography did that photo shoot for me, and it was actually really neat because some of the shots that I walked away with, like there were, shots of like my stomach rolls and shots of like just folds and flaps that I don't see every day, and um, I felt like let me rephrase that. They are folds that I see every day, but that I don't like looking at, aspects of my body that I will look at in the mirror and think, ooh, when did that get there? And when I got the images back, they were actually really beautiful. And I didn't mind the folds as much. I was like, wow, like it allowed me to see myself in a different way, I guess, than I had previously seen myself. And I thought even that was a confidence boost because it was just a different way of looking at myself. And I actually looked at this woman that was me and appreciated the imperfections in her body. Yeah.
I see. And I imagine that the cover for the single Ghost is taken from the same
Yeah.
photo session.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, to your point, it's a rather disconcerting sign in our culture that we find nudity in some ways repulsive because it reminds me a lot about the account in Genesis about the fall and how Adam and Eve were ashamed because they find themselves naked upon eating of the fruit.
Yeah.
But before that, they weren't. Of course, I don't recommend everyone go around in a state of au naturel, no natural or anything, but it is there is a sign that our disgust and repulsion with nudity says something about ourselves and our currently distorted relationship about our own bodies as well as that of the others.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think probably pornography has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I don't, we all, at the end of the day, when we all get home and we put our pajamas on, we put our pants on in the same way. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure what it is and what our discomfort is in terms of like seeing nudity in mainstream culture, and what that does for us in terms of the feelings that come up about that. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what the answer is to that. It's just you're right. It's a very interesting observation.
Let's see. Yeah, so you mentioned aging, and I wonder is aging a factor in helping or hindering your creative processes?
I think it's helping. I think it's helping big time. Yeah, I mean, I really, really believe that this album is the best work I've ever done. It is. I am so proud of this record, and I'm so proud of the honesty in it and the authenticity in it. Um, I'm proud of the new direction and uh, the way in which it was produced in a way that enhances not only my voice but the lyrics, the stories that it tells. It feels more cinematic, I would say, than anything that I've done before. Um, and I feel like this new direction has allowed me to take more liberties. And I don't feel that I would have had the confidence to do any of that if I were in my 20s.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for my money, I think it's the best album that you've made also.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I wish you the best with your new musical direction. I'm very excited to hear more of it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And on that note, thank you very much, Desiree Dorion from Manitoba for joining the show.
Thanks for having me again.